Imagine the ports of Algiers around 1620. The harbour is packed with ships, light, fast galleys and sailing vessels with high prows and lateen rigs. Black smoke drifts from forges repairing cannon. The markets bustle with chatter in Arabic, Turkish, Spanish and English. Merchants count coins minted in half a dozen lands. And behind all of this, a silent knowledge that human beings are as much a part of the trade as olive oil or gold. The scale was enormous. At its height, Algiers alone held an estimated 30,000 slaves. Tunis and Tripoli had thousands more. Some were chained in underground prisons called bagnios, where they slept packed together on stone floors. Others worked in construction, ship repair, or palace service. The most valuable were artisans and navigators, whose skills could be exploited or rented out. But how did this trade sustain itself for centuries without collapse? The answer lies in ransom, an invisible economy that connected Africa to Europe in a web of negotiation and desperation. Christian religious orders such as the Trinitarians and Mercedarians raised funds to buy back captives. Kings and nobles sent envoys with gold and letters of exchange. Small coastal towns held church collections to rescue their own. For the Barbary rulers, these transactions were far more profitable than simple labour. Every captive was a potential fortune waiting to be negotiated. Still, not everyone could afford redemption. The poor, fishermen, sailors, farmers, often languished for years, even decades. Some converted to Islam, voluntarily or under pressure, hoping for better treatment or freedom. Others adapted to their new lives, taking on local trades, learning the language, even marrying into Muslim families. Over time, a strange community emerged, a blend of cultures forged by captivity. And it wasn't all one-sided. European powers retaliated in fits and starts. Spain launched coastal bombardments. Venice sent war fleets. The Knights of Malta hunted corsair ships in a constant game of revenge. Yet, despite all their efforts, the Barbary states endured. The geography of North Africa, its maze of coves and islands, made them nearly impossible to suppress. One of the earliest and most revealing records of this world comes from the Englishman Thomas Pellow, captured in 1710 and enslaved in Morocco for 23 years. He described the markets as a place of noise and misery, where every cry was a bargain and every bargain a life. He also wrote of his master, a man both cruel and courteous, who alternated between threats and hospitality, as though the boundaries between enemy and family no longer existed. This complexity is what makes the Barbary trade so haunting. It wasn't simply one civilization oppressing another. It was a collision of faiths, economies, and desperation, each feeding off the instability of the other. When Europe was weak, the corsairs thrived. When Europe grew stronger, the trade waned. History here moved not in straight lines, but in tides. And these tides reshaped the Mediterranean world. Coastal towns in Spain built watchtowers to spot corsairs before they landed. Fishermen carried weapons alongside their nets. Trade routes shifted north, away from the African coast. Even language absorbed the trauma. In southern Italy, mothers warned unruly children that the Turks will take you if they disobeyed. Yet for every ship captured, for every ransom paid, there remained an unspoken truth. The system endured because it benefited all sides in some way. North African rulers gained revenue. European states used the danger as justification to fortify their navies and expand their own colonies. It was, in a grim sense, business as usual. In the end, what began as religious warfare evolved into a machine of exploitation, efficient, profitable, and eerily organized. Documents from Algiers reveal detailed taxation on slaves, inspection records, and ship manifests listing human cargo with the same precision as barrels of grain. Behind every number was a life, a story, a family waiting across the sea. It's easy to imagine that such horror would provoke outrage across Europe, but for the most part, it didn't. The poor who were captured had no voice. The rich who were ransomed returned in silence, ashamed or traumatized. And the governments, balancing politics and trade, preferred diplomacy over confrontation. So the system continued, wave after wave, year after year, and as European ships ventured deeper into the Atlantic, enslaving others, few paused to think of their own countrymen still toiling in North African chains. History has a way of swallowing its contradictions. But what happens to a civilization that forgets when it was enslaved? Picture the sea at dawn. You're standing on the deck of a small merchant ship somewhere between Sardinia and the Balearic Islands. The wind is mild, the sun's still low. You've done this route a dozen times, carrying grain, maybe timber, or saltfish bound for a coastal market. The Mediterranean feels almost gentle, but in this century, gentleness is a trap. It happens fast. A shadow on the horizon, a low, narrow vessel moving far too quickly for the breeze that fills your own sails. At first you think it might be a fishing boat. Then you notice the lateen rig, the black hull, the way it cuts across the water like a knife. Someone calls from the mast, "Turks!" The word spreads through the crew like fire. You try to run, to change course,